So we were proceeding with the third estate. So third estate included the majority of the French population, and we saw that who were the people in the third estate. So bourgeois were there, common people were there, and these people didn't enjoy any privileges. On the other hand, they had to pay all the form of taxes. So tithe they had to pay, octroi tax, all the forced road work, poll tax, income tax, salt tax, all the other dues. So they had to bear the burden of the entire system of taxation. So the members of the first two estates, that is a clergyman and the nobility, they enjoyed privileges by birth. Most important was that exemption from paying the taxes, and they enjoyed all the feudal privileges. On the top of that, church. Now, church too extracted its share, tithe from the peasants, and उस time पे church owned lot of property. So church का खुद का property भी बहुत ज़्यादा था. So in Europe, in the medieval century, the people of church and the church as an institution was a very rich institution. And all the members of the third estate, they had to pay the taxes. This included direct taxes. Direct taxes were called as taille, and the number of indirect. Direct taxes means income tax, tithe. That was a direct form of a tax. Indirect taxes, that is the taxes which were imposed on the daily commodities like salt tax, tobacco tax, all that they had to pay. So in short, the burden of financing the entire French economy, French system was borne by the third estate alone. And that resulted into issue between the first two estate and the third estate. So we call as French Revolution. It's a revolution between the privileged classes and the unprivileged classes. And who were the privileged classes? The people of the first two estate, they were called as the privileged classes. Now, slowly and gradually, we see that the issues keep on increasing in France. The main reason was that since monarch was least interested in introducing any reforms in the French society, so he didn't pay any attention to the reforms, and because of which many issues started popping up in the French society. Like for example, we see that slowly and gradually with time, France's population increased. So in 1715, population was 23 million. By 1789, population became 28 million. So though the population was increasing, there was no increase in terms of the food grains or food production, because sufficient steps were not taken to improve the agricultural condition or improve the agricultural system. And as a result, because of the increase in the population, there was increase in the demand for food grains, but the production of food grains could not keep a pace with the demand. And in France, the staple diet of the people was the famous French bread. So prices of the French bread also went on increasing. At the same time, inflation was increasing, but the salaries or the wages of the workers, that was not increasing. So most of the workers, they were employed as the laborers in the workshops. They received a fixed wages, but with inflation, prices should have increased, but the prices were not increasing. And because of which, the gap between rich and poor went on widening. That is, the gap between privileged and the unprivileged class went on increasing, and the conditions became more and more pathetic if there was any droughts or hailstorm attack. And if we know that France is located in the temperate zone, and that zone is prone to frost attack and all, hailstorm attack. So all this further impacted the harvest, and that resulted into crisis for subsistence. Subsistence matlab a struggle to survive. You basically you need food to eat, and at that time the issue was that because of the inflation and not sufficient price rise, apart from that no reforms being introduced, so food grains could not keep a pace with the population. That resulted into a struggle to survive. Okay, so this further escalated the French Revolution. Now, the last important reason. So we have seen three important reasons. We have seen the political reason. We saw the role of absolute monarchy in France, Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI, the way they ruled, favored nepotism, concentrated all the power in their hands. That was the first cause we saw. Second cause we saw, economic cause, how American Revolution deepened the crisis, maintenance of the Versailles Palace, Third, we saw social causes. Social causes is very important. That is the estate system that existed in France. Next important thing is role of thinkers. Okay, so thinkers also played a very important role in French Revolution. And when we talk about 18th century, so 18th century in France is called as Age of French Enlightenment. And four personalities played a very important role. You all have heard about Rousseau, Voltaire, Montesquieu. All these are the famous important personalities, and also to a great extent John Locke. So John Locke was not a French guy, he was a British guy, but even he had a great influence over French society. Okay, so role of thinkers, that is, all these thinkers played a very important role into beginning an intellectual awakening in France. So because of all these philosophers, it resulted into intellectual awakening. It started shaping the public opinion, and it created conditions favorable for French Revolution. So all these people, those who were educated, they believed that no group in the society should be privileged by birth. So person should not enjoy privileges by birth. It must depend. So person's position in the society must depend upon his merit, upon his capabilities, not by birth. So that is the first notion that emerged with the help of these thinkers. Second thing, these philosophers, they started talking of a new society, a new French society, which would be based on liberty, which would be based on equality for all, equal laws and equality for all. And these ideas were mainly propagated by philosophers like Rousseau and John Locke. So John Locke, he presented two treatises of government. And in this treatise, first of all, he refused, or he refuted to accept the doctrine of divine and absolute right of monarch. Okay, so he was against the divine monarchy and the absolute right of monarchy. Next was Rousseau. So Rousseau said that he gave a very famous philosophy of social contract. Now, what is the social contract of philosophy? He said that the government and people, they are bounded in a contract, a social contract. Government exists because of people. Since we cast our vote, we elect our representatives. So representatives are in power because of the will of the people. And as a result, there exists a contract between people and the representatives. And representatives have to work for the welfare of the people. So there is a social contract. You are there in power because of us. So you have to work for our welfare. And if you are not able to do so, we have full right to overthrow the representatives. So that was a concept of social contract given by Rousseau. And the most important thing that came from Montesquieu. So in the Spirits of Law, the book written by Montesquieu, he has given a very famous concept, that is the division of power within government. So we all know there are three wings of government: legislative, which frames laws; executive, execute laws; and judiciary, interprets laws. So Montesquieu said that the power should be separated between legislative, executive, judiciary. That is, a person who is appointed in the judiciary should not be a person, should not have any role to play in executive or legislative. That is, one person should not be appointed in multiple wings of government, so that the power won't be concentrated in the hands of few people. Power would be distributed, and this system will work as a system of check and balances. Now, if you know that this system in the pure form as given by Montesquieu is practiced in America. So America mein, this is a clear system which is practiced. In India also we have this system, but not in a pure form. We have a flexible system because in India, executive comes from legislature. You will study in polity that executive is a part of legislature. So we have a little bit flexible system, but yes, judiciary is completely independent. So these philosophers played a very important role in emerging new ideas, and this not only shaped French Revolution, but it also inspired the other countries of the world, even India. All right. So role of thinkers is very much important. These thinkers resulted into enlightenment in France, resulted into intellectual awakening, which shaped French population, public opinion of France, and ultimately triggered French Revolution. Okay. So please remember about these important personalities: Rousseau, his social contract philosophy. Then we talk about Montesquieu, we talk about John Locke. So these are the very much important entities. Okay. One more thing here I would like to discuss is, what is the external influence of external factors that played important role in French Revolution? So this is an extra part which I would like to discuss here itself. External factors. So by external factors, I mean that role of Britain and role of America. So there can be a question, okay, what were the external factors that influenced French Revolution? So when I talk about Britain, so first we'll discuss about Britain's role. So Britain may, first of all, is John Locke. So John Locke played a very important role in influencing French philosophers, okay, or the French public, because John Locke started talking about people have a right, people have certain inalienable right to revolt, okay, people have certain fundamental rights to revolt. So these concepts were given by John Locke, and the very famous statement of John Locke was, power comes from people. Power comes from people. So this inspired French public, okay. John Locke, he played a very important role in inspiring French philosophers. Second thing that inspired France was Britain ka political system, okay, Britain's political system. So Britain may be monarchy tha, but we all know that Britain had constitutional form of monarchy, where the power of monarch were limited by a constitution. So monarch to tha Britain mein, queen or king existed, but the rights of king or queen were not absolute. The rights of king or queen, they were limited or they were controlled by the constitution, by the parliament, and as a result, monarch was not overpowerful. On the other hand, when we see France, may monarchy was absolute. So French people were quite inspired by American model, and even they were interested in introducing this model in France, okay, that is a form of constitutional monarchy and parliamentary form of government. So they were inspired by parliamentary form of government. So this was Britain ka influence on the French Revolution, okay. So coming to the next part, that is American influence. So American influence was, first point was American Revolution. So American Revolution was a symbolic form of struggle for freedom. American Revolution, where we saw that 13 colonies fought against Britain. So American Revolution was a symbol of struggle for freedom. Okay, so that is one important thing. They inspired this. This is first influence on French Revolution. Second thing, as we saw that France participated, that is French participated in the American Revolution. So many French commanders, they were the eyewitness of the American Revolution. Okay, so many French commanders, they were the eyewitness, and they were like, see, दूर से देख के खाली French American Revolution को cherish करना, it's an another part, but becoming an eyewitness of American independence was a very important inspiration. So French ka personal involvement in the American Revolution inspired the French commanders, because since they were the witness of this